Hello and welcome to United Report. This is your home for all the latest Manchester United news, match updates, transfer stories, and in-depth analysis. Stay connected and never miss a moment. Subscribe now to stay ahead with everything happening at Old Trafford. Manchester United have been handed a huge boost with Yoro and 4 other stars returning. The Frenchman has been sidelined for the past 2 games with an ankle injury, but it appears that the defender is closing in on a return to the side, having been spotted in training after the international break. Yoro has played a full role in United's preparations for their chasing Nottingham Forest next Tuesday, and he is not the only defender who looks set to return to action sooner rather than later. Yoro's fellow centre-back Harry Maguire is also edging towards a return. The England defender has been sidelined since early March with a thigh injury, but looks to have recovered and could now take to the pitch against Forest. There is one further defensive injury boost for Amorim with the return of Luke Shaw. The left-back has seen his season ruined by injury, having made just 3 appearances throughout the campaign. But he too is now back in training and could potentially be included in the squad for next week's trip to the City ground. Away from defence, there has also been good news in goal, where Altay Bayindir and Tom Heaton are both back in training. Away from injuries, January signing Patrick Dorgu can return after serving a 3-match suspension for his red card against Ipswich. The returnees are all huge for the Red Devils as they attempt to navigate a tricky few weeks. They take on Forest in midweek ahead of next weekend's Manchester derby at Old Trafford. Amorim's side then face Lyon in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final clash. And while Amorim will be delighted to see all of the 5 return, there are still a few concerns for United. Long-term absentee Lisandro Martinez is still sidelines with his knee injury, while Ahmad's return will not occur until closer to the end of the campaign. Centre-backs Aidan Heaven and Johnny Evans are also both still out, the former being injured in the comprehensive 3-0 win against Leicester before the end of the campaign. Speaking after that game, United boss Ruben Amorim said, "Well, we have to evaluate during the week. He's a young kid, he doesn't know how to explain what he's feeling, so it's hard for us to know something. He's a little bit more calm now, but we have to assess during the week. But he's doing a great job and it's a shame if he has something for quite a long time. We wish him all the best." Manchester United may have to pay well over Francisco Trincão's release clause if they want to land the Sporting Lisbon star due to a complicated sell-on clause. Ruben Amorim is keen to reunite with the player whom he coached in Portugal and is confident he would be a good fit in the Premier League following a brief stint at Wolves. Sporting are braced to lose a number of their leading lights, Victor Gyökeres among them. As a result, they're prepared to dig their heels in and demand well over the £50 million release clause Trincão is said to have in his contract. The 25-year-old joined from Barcelona, but the Spanish giants will take 50% of his future sell-on fee, reports The Sun, which limits the amount Sporting will land. Amorim's former side want £35 million, which could mean they'd need to sell for at least £70 million once Barcelona have taken their cut. Sporting are ready to offer Trincão a new contract in a bid to keep him at the club, but the lure of a move back to England may be too much. The issue for the Manchester outfit will be a lack of funds, unless they can win the Europa League, which would result in Champions League qualification. Unless that happens, the team are set for an all-time low finish in the Premier League, hampering their summer plans. Amorim's squad is in major need of an overhaul despite constant spending in recent years. However, the new manager may have to do that on the cheap if no silverware is claimed come May. Already United have missed out on Giovanni Quenda, whom they were heavily linked with. The youngster came through the ranks at Sporting and Amorim was keen to bring the player to Old Trafford, but Chelsea have swooped in and already secured a deal ahead of the summer. There had been inevitable talk of Gyökeres, who has become one of Europe's top frontmen, following Amorim to Manchester. The Swede, though, is keen to play in the Champions League, which makes a move to Old Trafford unlikely. Amorim's only signing since joining the club has been Patrick Dorgu, who joined from Lille, with the player able to play the wing-back role that features in the new system. The United boss has stuck to his unique philosophy, which will require certain players if it is to be a success. That means several areas will have to be targeted in the summer, with doubts surrounding a host of United's players. The club's hierarchy were willing to listen to offers for almost the entire squad, including the likes of Kobbie Mainoo, such as their need to raise funds. In one sense, the international break could not have come at a worse time for Manchester United and their boss Ruben Amorim, bringing a halt to their recent momentum. A comfortable 3-0 win at Leicester City extended United's unbeaten run to 7 games in all competitions, their longest stretch this season, and continued their quiet resurgence under Amorim after a dismal start to his tenure. But after the victory at the King Power Stadium, rather than bemoaning the 2-week hiatus for internationals, Amorim welcomed the break because, as he put it, his players were at the limit. "We're going to use this window to rest and recover. It will be good," said Amorim. "When we return, it will be like starting from scratch." With United down in 13th place in the Premier League, their Europa League assault will define the remainder of their campaign and whether they can salvage something from arguably their worst season of the modern era. They return to action with a trip to 3rd place Nottingham Forest on April 1st, followed by the Manchester derby at Old Trafford 5 days later. Those 2 games will show whether Amorim's players can continue where they left off for the international break, or whether their recent revival was another anomaly in a season of unremitting turmoil on and off the pitch. After the derby against City, United travel to Lyon for the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final, a competition which represents their last chance of lifting a trophy this season, and more importantly, securing Champions League football for next term. Amorim may have tried to play down the importance of going all the way in the Europa League this season, arguing that trophies are not the most important thing as he continues to plot his overhaul of United. But Amorim knows the significance of European football at United next season, for financial reasons as much as prestige, particularly when set against the backdrop of the parlous position of the club, after co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe claimed it would have gone bust by Christmas had he not put £232.5 million of his own money into it. Failure to win the Europa League and secure a golden ticket to the Champions League would cost United up to £100 million in lost revenue. Champions League qualification is worth around £60 million, with an additional £20 million in bonuses, and prize money should they reach the last 16. United could earn up to £20 million from gate receipts for European home games, while their kit deal with Adidas includes a £10 million penalty clause for every season they are not in the Champions League. That is why, with United out of the FA Cup and treading water in the Premier League, the Europa League has assumed such importance and will also determine which players they are able to go for this summer as Amorim continues his rebuild. If United can get past Lyon, a semi-final against Rangers, whom they edged out 3-2 at Old Trafford in January, or Athletic Bilbao awaits them, with a potential final showdown against Premier League rivals Tottenham on May 21st in Bilbao's San Mamés Stadium. With United too far down in the Premier League table to qualify for Europe, yet not low enough to be drawn into a relegation battle, everything hinges on the Europa League. Publicly, Amorim may claim otherwise, but privately he knows the consequences should he and his players fall short. Manchester United's fortunes for the remainder of the season could rest on how well Bruno Fernandes is able to lead by example. The captain scored a crucial hat-trick against Real Sociedad in the Europa League and followed it with a big performance against Leicester City to send United into the international break with 3 points. Fernandes and his teammates have come in for criticism at times this term, not least from former skipper Roy Keane. However, recent results have given them a platform on which to build. United will take on Lyon in the quarter-finals of the Europa League, with either Rangers or Athletic Club awaiting the winners. With Ruben Amorim's side now out of the FA Cup and 10 points below 7th-placed Brighton in the league, success in Europe represents their best chance of European qualification. The international break has provided an opportunity for some players to get a bit of a rest, while others have been busy for their national sides. Fernandes played the full 120 minutes for Portugal in their UEFA Nations League quarter-final, where they needed extra time to claim a 5-3 aggregate victory over Denmark. As we approach the return of domestic football, United's captain remains the subject of discussion. Here are Mirror Football's latest lines from around Old Trafford. Former Manchester United captain Brian Robson has been impressed with Bruno Fernandes' resurgence in the second half of the season, but still feels the Portuguese has work to do. I hope that he stays away from the rolling over when he gets tackled and that sort of thing, Robson said via BetSelect, but he's coming into his own as a captain. I think the manager has told him, you've got to be a leader on the pitch. You can see him talking to people now, saying, this is what we're doing because this is what the manager wants. He looks as if he's encouraging the players and saying, you should be in this position or that position. I hope he keeps continuing to do that because you've got to. Roy Keane's former teammate Louis Saha has called out the Irishman over his recent comments about the current Manchester United crop. Saha told Genting Casino he would understand if Fernandes chose to leave United, having some in for significant criticism from the ex-captain. It's interesting that Roy Keane has criticised him, Saha said. I understand and I respect his point because he knows his position. He knows what leaders need to do. That's not easy when you are a fan. You criticise harshly. But I would still say it is harsh, because Bruno deserves respect. And as a human being, you make mistakes and all sorts. But I think he has too much weight on his shoulders, and at some point, he may consider other opportunities. Whenever he talks, I don't see someone that just wants to play for the club as much as he can. He is really loyal. He seems to be a very loyal player. So I do think that he will be likely to stay. Jadon Sancho is eyeing up a shock return to Borussia Dortmund, it has been claimed. Earlier in the week, it emerged that Chelsea are expected to exercise their obligation to buy the Manchester United star at the end of the season, but he might not stay at Stamford Bridge for long. According to Bild, Sancho has submitted a transfer request to his management in an effort to rejoin Dortmund for a third spell. The publication claims his desire to move back to Germany is growing by the day. Sancho made his senior debut with Dortmund after coming through the Manchester City Academy, scoring 50 goals in 137 games for the club before making a £73 million Manchester United switch in 2021. He returned to Signal Iduna Park on loan last season, playing 21 times for the Champions League finalists.